by the numbers. 8 countries, not counting the nations absorbed by the Soviet Union, have been subjected to the political and economic repression of socialism. In Poland, 22,000 prisoners of war were exterminated in the Katyn Forest massacre. In Russia, at least 15 million Russians were exterminated between 1917 and 1953. In China, an estimated 77 million Chinese were exterminated from 1949 to the present. In Cambodia, from 1975 to 1979, almost 2 million Cambodians were exterminated. These are just a few examples of the cost in human lives. Total human beings known to be exterminated in the name of socialism, at least 95 million. 8 national economies have been destroyed. Tens of thousands of places of worship have been burned. Tens of thousands of schools have been burned. Billions of books have been burned. Socialism in America. The socialist group called the Weather Underground of the 1960s and 70s left a manifesto for their followers in America called Prairie Fire. This document has been adopted by a group calling themselves the Antifa. The expected outcome of Prairie Fire, when carried to completion in America, would require the execution of 10% of the population. In today's America, that equates to roughly 33 million people. It is basically an outline of how to destroy America from within. It is the Nazi game plan. It worked for Hitler, Lenin, and Mussolini, and Mao Zedong. In a nutshell, this is their guide. They say to attract and collect the social misfits, give them something to belong to, feed their ego, play on their alienation. Tell them that they have little or nothing because they are the victims and should be given what others have worked for. They will follow like lemmings. I apologize to all lemmings. They say to infiltrate the education system and indoctrinate the children. The children will trust their teachers without question, especially if questioning results in poor grades and condemnation by their peers. Just as the Nazis of Germany used propaganda, they should feed the press with exaggerations and lies. Tabloid journalism sells. The press will carry any story that will generate revenue. Bear in mind that all actions are acceptable for the promotion of the cause. Lie, cheat, steal, and terrorize. The Nazi propaganda machine of the 30s and 40s clearly demonstrated that any lie, repeated often enough by the press, will be incorporated into the general public mindset. Even reasonably intelligent people will succumb to a constant bombardment of numbing lies. They do not fear to resort to violence. They believe that the establishment will show tolerance, and with their guidance, the press will show resistance to their violence as brutal repression. They promote victimization of fringe groups. They use it to divide and conquer. This is how to overcome the social fabric of the nation. The establishment will be polite. They use the political correctness of politeness as a weakness to be exploited. They make demands and keep at it. The establishment will give in just to silence them. The establishment will appease them in the name of peace. To them, any gain is a victory in the long war against the idea of America, the idea of liberty and democracy. Once the pattern of appeasement is established, it will be easier for the establishment to continue to appease. They promote protests and riots. The political powers will attempt to restore harmony by surrendering to their demands. Does this sound familiar? It should. It has been done and is being done in the United States today. How to deal with proponents of a socialist state. The proponents of socialism in America need to be treated like spoiled children. They are not children. Many are intelligent, but misled by a cadre of teachers raised to hate the nation that gave them the liberty and freedom to become the guide of another generation. They are dangerous and determined to destroy the very fabric of America without understanding what they are doing and why they're doing it. Those in authority in America swore an oath to serve and protect the population they represent, to observe and uphold the principles of the Constitution against all enemies, foreign and domestic. To their shame, some have already abandoned that oath, while others are wavering in their resolve. The authorities need to respond to violent mobs with force, non-lethal force, but force. Use of skunk water cannon following a 2-minute warning, for example. Lethal force would provide them with fodder for their propaganda machine. Any and all offers to negotiate must be declined. There can be no negotiation with a group dedicated to the destruction of America. To negotiate is to acknowledge parity and open the door to appeasement. Modify the policy of tenure for teachers. No other profession has the guarantee of lifetime job security. Once they have tenure, teachers that advocate socialism, teachers to whom we have entrusted the education and welfare of our children, can reveal their true colors and openly poison the minds of our children. Those that advocate the destruction of America must not be allowed the opportunity to subvert the children with impunity. This cannot be allowed to continue. Just as parents can and should say no to children throwing a tantrum, so too should those in authority say no to any request from any group or organization dedicated to the destruction of America. Peace through appeasement is the road to failure and ultimate destruction. Resist the temptation of appeasement. Their goal is to destroy America and all the good for which it stands. When possible, they resort to bullets and bombs, but they will also use the poisoned apple of subversion to undermine the will to resist. It is a long war to erase the very idea of America, a war to fundamentally change America, to erase the very memory of freedom and democracy. It must not be allowed to happen.